Aloha mai kako. You are watching Hawaii Political Reporter.
Welcome back to episode 190 of The New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com, giving you all the important news you need to go over, and everything you need is at NewWorldNextWeek.com. Audio, video, RSS feed, sources, and so much more. James will begin with an interesting story from TechDirt. Los Angeles law enforcement looking to crowdsource surveillance. The LAPD wants you, Joe Sucker, citizen, to help out with its surveillance. It has enlisted the help of a crowdsourcing tool called Leader, Leedir, to collect photos and recordings from everyday people who may have additional footage of natural disasters or civil unrest that could help out both emergency responders and cops looking to put a few more demonstrators in jail. In today's announcement, earthquakes, terrorist attacks, and the Boston Marathon bombings were mentioned as scenarios in which Leader could help law enforcement respond to disasters or large-scale public security threats. One might also imagine large citizen protests like Occupy being the focus of such crowdsourced surveillance. The article, James, from TechDirt does go into a lot of the specifics and a lot of the specific people who are pushing this, but it notes that an unfiltered influx of photos and videos curated by law enforcement officers, what could possibly go wrong? The tool may be aimed at natural disasters, which provides free access to police and emergency responders in the affected area. You got to give away a little bit for free, but paid subscriptions are available, which would keep Leader live at all times for any and all law enforcement agency willing to foot the bill, James, which pretty much means any poor community who has their police using their money to pay for such a Leader. James?
Crowdsourced surveillance sounds so nice, doesn't it? It sounds so much better than Stasi-era totalitarian snitch state, doesn't it? Which is what this amounts to, of course. What is this other than the wet dream of every would-be dictator for all of human history, to have the population surveilling itself and to have little snitches on all the different events and spying on the protesters and ratting them out. Oh, look at this. You got to pick this person up. So this is just nightmarish stuff that is couched in this wonderful rhetoric of crowdsourcing and everything that really is the sort of the power and the potential political power of the internet era. Of course, they're trying to co-opt it for their purposes. And this is exactly like, the mainstream media trying to co-opt the power of the alternative media by doing like iReports and things. Oh, you send your footage into CNN and we might play it on air. Ooh, for all 27 of their viewers. It is ridiculous, and it's the way that this always functions. They always want to try to co-opt and derail the potential of these technologies to do something more than what they want. Well, no, don't crowdsource for your own efforts. Don't make a citizen investigation effort. No, you have to give it to the police because they're the responsible ones and they'll know what to do with it, and they'll know which tapes to destroy if they don't contain the footage they want. This is all part of, in fact, what we were discussing in a Beard World Order roundtable I did with Tom Secker and Guillermo Jimenez recently. We talked about this idea of covalence that they want to put on the table, as opposed to surveillance, which I talked about in a previous episode of Corbett Report, where basically the idea is we all have these little slave device recording devices in our pockets. We might as well be using them for our own purposes to keep our eye on the police, the cop watch type of idea, rather than giving them all of our footage in order for them to decide what to do with it. I think that we need to use this as a protection, if anything. Of course, the ultimate idea is to get rid of these snooping technologies altogether, but that's a bit of a pipe dream at this moment. So it is an interesting co-optation of the real power of the internet, I think.
And I think it speaks to almost what is the panopticon, the original idea from Jeremy Bentham, the idea that, well, I just expect myself to be spied on all the time, so I just act accordingly. So I think, James, the one of two ways to beat something like this would be that no one would use it, or the opposite of that, you completely feed it and overload it with nothing but garbage, and thereby making it useless. James, we'll include in this first segment, as long as we're talking about evil technological potential, a story we had not reported on here on New World Next Week, but it has been bubbling under, and will include a lot of links and some of these thanks to our good friend Brock West. That is the Heartbleed bug. And I think, given our story with the LAPD and Leader, I think when you learn that the NSA knew about Heartbleed and exploited it for 2 years, I think shows you what exactly can happen with certain technology in certain wrong hands. And the updates surrounding Heartbleed continue to spill out as China hackers waste little time in exploiting it, Canadian teen arrested for using it to steal taxpayer information, and the latest is that Heartbleed actually exposes OpenVPN private keys as well. So the Heartbleed story we obviously have not heard the last of. Now, James, having said all that, we'll move to our second story this week on the big episode 190 of New World Next Week for a whole basket of stories that all sort of fit together, James, and we'll take it from your own Twitter account and a story from the Daily Beast that shows the mainstream media is now mentioning the crazy conspiracy theories of Russian involvement in the Polish plane crash. The Daily Beast article is titled, "Did Putin blow up the whole Polish government in 2010? A second look." 4 years ago this week, Polish President Lech Kaczynski was killed in a plane crash near the cotton forest in Russia, where he was flying to honor the 22,000 Polish officers, lawyers, priests, and professors slaughtered there by the Soviets 70 years before. 95 other military, political, and public figures, including his wife, died on that plane. The plane's black boxes, laptops, sensitive documents, mobile phones, address books, telephone numbers, correspondence, and the top-secret military, NATO, and diplomatic codes on board were salvaged from the crash site immediately by Kremlin's operatives in what was described as, quote, a coup for Russian intelligence service. This, according to retired CIA analyst Gene Poteet, noting what physicist Kazimierz Nowacek calls years' worth of work for security services completed in a single day by Russia's special purpose police, which were immediately deployed to the site. James, again, I'm truncating the article and jumping to the bottom as he goes over all the crazy conspiracy points for a majority of the country and the mainstream media. I believe that's our country and our mainstream media in the West here and in the States. Supposition that the Smolensk crash was not an accident remains a fringe theory fraught with political implications. Those who propagate it are considered paranoids or activists with an axe to grind. But Putin's performance over the last 8 weeks has given the world good cause to revisit conspiracy theories, including some that only 2 months ago would have seemed ludicrous and absurd. James, this is something we've touched on a bit over the last few months, not only here on New World Next Week, but also on Ground Zero, the talk show that I'm the producer of, as conspiracy theories have made their way fully into mainstream media. For exactly what reason, we can only kind of speculate a number of areas, and we'll include some of these other areas where now mainstream conspiracies are being discussed, James, but I'll throw it back to you.
Well, I don't think we have to speculate too hard. I mean, it's pretty much on the surface with this story in particular. I think they spell it out pretty blatantly right there, is that, well, this has been fringe conspiracy theory, and if you talk about it, you're crazy. But now that, Putin's the big enemy again, and he's enemy number one, and what Al-Qaeda boogeyman? Oh yeah, Russian boogeyman. Now it's gloves off. Okay, now we can talk about this. So now it deserves a second look, and now that the Daily Beast and other of these mainstream mouthpiece websites are talking about it, now it's okay to talk about them. I mean, the agenda is pretty obvious here, and in fact, I wrote about this in the midweek update for the International Forecaster that came out on Wednesday, exactly this phenomenon, and we've seen it time and time again. It's a fringe conspiracy theory. What, the government attacks itself? Why would it do that on 9/11? I don't get it. And then when a car bomb happens in the middle of Damascus, Assad probably did that himself to his own forces in order to justify the crackdown, blah, blah, blah. So the same people who call it a fringe conspiracy theory embrace embrace it lovingly when it's directed against the enemy. The point that I think we should be dedicated towards in the alternative media is to find the truth, and people will be able to turn back to episode 250 of my podcast where I explored this plane crash in particular and was quoting CIA analyst Jean Poteet and the analysis that was coming out in the wake of that crash from the Polish government and others that all signs point to, yes, Russian involvement. Absolutely. They were involved in it. They covered it up. They were the number one people on the scene. They were the ones that directed the investigation that concluded officially, no, there was no problem. Evidence of explosives? What evidence of explosives? I mean, it's been one long fiasco. So all evidence does point to Russian involvement, and it always has, even before the mainstream told you it was okay to say that. So obviously this is coming out in this way because of the particular political angle that they're trying to put on this. Again, I think we shouldn't get caught up in either the action or the reaction. We should continue to dedicate ourselves to finding the truth about these issues and realize that, yes, the Russian government wants to lie, manipulate, deceive, and kill to pursue its political interests in the exact same way the American government and every other government throughout history, in all times and places, is willing to do in a heartbeat, because they do not care about you. And at the very top of this pyramid, they are all connected, and that's perhaps nowhere more apparent than it is in the fact that the Russian central bank, exactly like the American and British and all of the other major Western central banks, are members of the Bank for International Settlements, which is the apex of the pyramid, identified by Carroll Quigley half a century ago as being that apex of the pyramid from which they are going to direct their plan for world domination. It is all there in black and white, so we shouldn't get caught up in the politics of the back and forth and choosing one side or another. They're all rigged. It's a rigged game. Don't play the game. Just point out the truth. And in this case, hey, well, there's some truth coming out, and we have to be wary of the way that it's going to be used for geopolitical purposes.
James will include those flashback links, as well as at least one time that we've covered the Polish plane crash on New World Next Week back in November 2012 when there were updates then. Some of our other related stories pushing conspiracies into the mainstream. British Prime Minister David Cameron says chemtrails don't exist because they're prohibited by international treaty. Now, James, was that your photo? You had great action on Twitter with retweets of that.
No, I saw that floating around Twitter, so I scooped it up and tweeted it out, and I'm glad to see it got a lot of reaction. A lot of people don't believe David Cameron. Imagine that. I wonder why.
There's also a story, as there are always amazing stories, about what goes on in North Korea. There's one now making the rounds, which would sound fringe. He uses literally a flamethrower to eliminate his enemies. Another fascinating one submitted to us via @DazAltTheory. Respected Wall Street financial expert declares the Illuminati exists, and Gawker covers it as you would figure they would, and they call it the astounding conspiracy theories of Wall Street genius Mark Gorton.
And by the way, just check page 39 of his little treatise for a link to CorbettReport.com.
Oh, nice. Our last related to mainstream in mainstream conspiracies, rather, I think, amazingly enough, just in time for the Boston Marathon bombing anniversary, it's crisis actors Soviet style. Russian TV propagandists caught red-handed. Same guy, 3 different people. Spy, bystander, heroic surgeon. Did that come from whatreallyhappened.com? Did that come from Blacklisted News? That came from Forbes. James, I think those batch of stories really put together, I think exactly the point we're trying to put across is that things ridiculed as conspiracy ultimately come out as the sunshine and the light generally proves them correct. Having said all that, James, we'll now move to our third and final story for a little bit of good news, and a good news story that we missed a couple of weeks ago via the meme and the theme that continues, Russia Today. Russian Prime Minister Medvedev says Russia will not import GMO products. Moscow has no reason to encourage the production of genetically modified products or import them into the country, Medvedev told a Congress of deputies from rural settlements on 2 Saturdays ago, saying, quote, "If the Americans like to eat GMO products, let them eat it then. We don't need to do that. We have enough space and opportunities to produce organic food," end quote. The prime minister said he ordered widespread monitoring of the agricultural sector. He added that despite rather strict restrictions, a certain amount of GMO products and seeds have already made it to the Russian markets. Earlier at that meeting, Agricultural Minister Nikolai Fyodorov also stated that Russia should remain free of genetically modified products. At the end of February, Russian parliament asked the government to impose a temporary ban on all genetically altered products in Russia. James, this, I think, is another interesting way that shows the sort of bizarre cognitive dissonance we're seeing with Russia. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that this ultimately goes back more, again, to what the people do and what the people want to have happen. And speaking of organic farming in Russia, I'll just throw in a link to a tweet that I had out recently talking about the family farming system in Russia and how it accounts for an incredible percentage of the population of Russia. 35 million families, that's 70% of the population, work in 8 million hectares of land, producing more than 40% of Russia's agricultural output. Just a stunning amount of the economy is through this family farming system that has been established there and continues to survive throughout all of the changes that have been wrought and the raping of Russia that's taken place in the last couple of decades through the IMF. So that is I think the bright spot in all of this, and the people again can really hold the future of the food supply in their hands by refusing to use this genetic monstrosity, no matter whether or not their government allows it or doesn't allow it. Whatever's happening at the geopolitical stage, you and I don't have any direct influence on that, but you and I do have a direct influence on whether or not we participate in the local farming economy and organic foods. And this is what we come back to again and again and again and again. And it's not a broken record if it's true. This is the absolute stone cold truth. We hold the power in our hands. Let's not let it slip to these international conglomerates. And we have to stop. We have to stop consuming these genetic monstrosities, because this truly is a game for all the marbles. And at this point, in this stage of the game, we're losing. Such a staggering percentage of the soybean crop and other crops are now genetically modified that it is getting dangerous, very dangerous indeed, and we have to stop the tide. So this is important news, and again, I think that we can put this down to the people in Russia who are standing up against this and are continuing the family farming tradition, something that it would do the Americans and the Japanese and the Canadians and everyone else out there to think about and emulate.
Mm-hmm. So, James, I think in closing, and it's still a bit related, we'll include some stories submitted via Twitter using hashtag NewWorld next week. Via @TwistedPolitics notes, horse meat in my pasta, the rise of food fraud. And that's actually an update on a story we covered here on New World Next Week back in February of 2013. NASA continues joint projects with Russia, including the ISS. This, speaking to something, James, we just talked about a few weeks ago. As everything heated up with Russia, we realized, yeah, they can talk sanctions all they want, but the real deal dirty business still goes on unabated, not missing a beat. James, Bandar Bush, that's Saudi Bandar bin Sultan, fired as the spying chief in Saudi Arabia, and I had to dig back. Back in August 2012, we were reporting here on New World Next Week the questions about whether or not Bandar Bush was dead. Now, I don't recall him being announced alive, but James, do you know anything about him being fired as the Saudi intel chief?
Yeah, I think this was first floated as what looked like a rumor back in February. It seems to have been confirmed now. I've seen some official reports on this, so I guess it's really true, but you always have to take this with a grain of salt, because as you say, we were reporting 2 years ago, people are saying he's dead. We haven't seen him. We don't know where he is. Then he popped up in Russia, meeting the Russians, supposedly giving them the threat about the Olympics and all of that. So a lot of shady games take place in that world. So it looks at this point that it's really true that he's been fired. But again, I think we'll have to see how this plays out.
Snowden's email provider loses appeal over encryption keys, and that's an update to a story we covered back in August 2013, the LavaBit shutdown. And James submitted to us on Twitter via @LexNaturalis314, a story that a lot of folks already know about, and we'll take the moment here to tip our hats to the passing of Michael C. Rupert, Crossing the Rubicon author and investigative journalist, commits suicide at the age of 63. I know I said on my own Twitter account @MediaMonarchy, I think he laid out the truth and lies of 9/11 first and best, pretty much mainly pointing to the drills and the insider trading, which I think still to this day remain kind of the main key, James.
I wish he had have stuck to that rather than the stuff that he became in the latter years. And it's interesting. I've already seen people talking about was it a suicide or was he suicided? And yet this is the man who absolutely denounced anyone who questioned the Gary Webb suicide as being traitors and conspiracy theorists and all of that. So it's very ironic to be in this situation. But at any rate, it's not a happy thing when anyone ends up dying like this. So I'm not wallowing in this or enjoying this at all.
So, James, just quickly in closing, we will pass the always interesting date of 420 before we talk again. So we'll implore folks out there to pay attention. And again, to always try and submit stories to us via Twitter using hashtag New World Next Week. And with that, James, I say thank you so much.
Take care. Oh, wait. Before we go, let's not go like that. Let's tell them we're about to be recording a conversation between yourself and myself for my Film Literature in the New World Order series, which comes out at the third Monday of every month. So stay tuned to CorbettReport.com for that. We're going to be talking about Citizen Kane. So on that note, talk to you later.
All right. Take care.
The federal government is so desperate to hide Harry Reid's role in connection with a Chinese land grab linked to the Cliven Bundy standoff in Nevada that not only has the BLM deleted a key document from its website proving this connection, but they've also censored any trace or history of the document ever appearing on the internet in the first place. On Friday night, less than 24 hours before the standoff between Cliven Bundy supporters and the Bureau of Land Management, InfoWars posted an article revealing Senator Harry Reid's link to the land grab, and it went on to become viral, attracting nearly 9,000 comments and being posted on the Drudge Report. The article revealed that one of the key reasons why the BLM wanted Cliven Bundy off the land and therefore began seizing his cattle was to clear it to make way for a solar energy project. As Reuters reported, Senator Harry Reid used his influence to push through a $5 billion deal for a Chinese energy company with close ties to the Communist Chinese government, represented by Harry Reid's son, Rory Reid, who oversaw the sale of 9,000 acres of public land, which was valued at up to $38.6 million, and then sold to this Chinese energy firm, ENN, for just $4.5 million. And Senator Reid also used his influence to help see Neil Kornza, a former Reid advisor and confidant who was named as BLM's director just last week. And of course, hours after this scandal emerged, the BLM did indeed back down, at least for now, in the standoff against Bundy supporters there in Nevada. But of course, Reid came back just yesterday to assert that the ranch standoff, the BLM's siege against Cliven Bundy, was, quote, not over. And it's definitely not over for Reid, because he plays that key integral role in selling off that land to this communist Chinese government-linked energy company. He's got a dog in the fight, and he's not backing down. So why is the BLM and the federal government so desperate to hide Harry Reid's role in this land grab against Cliven Bundy? Well, to illustrate how desperate the BLM is to hide this connection, not only did they delete the document from their website, but as storm clouds gathering documents, they even deleted the cached page on Google, which now returns this error. And to be clear, deleted pages are not automatically removed from Google's cache within a few days. The site's owner has to directly and deliberately contact Google and request that that cached page be removed. So not only has the BLM deleted the document from their website, they've ensured that nobody can go back to the Google cache and retrieve it via that method, despite the fact that it's already plastered across 1,000 different websites, at least the screenshot of the document, thanks to Infowars.com's article. But the fact that they would directly request that Google even delete the cached version of this page just shows how panicked they are about people discovering it and people being able to verify that it is in fact true that they're kicking Bundy off the land, stealing his cattle to make way for a Chinese energy company linked to the communist government to build a solar energy project on that land. They don't want the American people to know about this because that would be a huge, monumental rallying point around the fact that the US government, the state of Nevada, Harry Reid, is siding with the communist Chinese in a land grab directed against the American people. And furthermore, now there's not even a record of the fact that there was a cache of the website in the first place. This is the level to which they've gone to try and hide the verifiable, provable fact that this document existed. You search for Cattle Trespass Impacts Bureau of Land Management, which was the original title of the document. Not only is the cache not available, there's no sign that any cache or any document ever existed on the internet. Of course, the top link is Infowars.com. But the BLM has gone to such great depths to memory hole this document from the pages of internet history that there's no trace of it whatsoever. So this is what they're frightened of. They're frightened of people linking the land grab to the US government and Harry Reid siding with the communist Chinese government via this energy deal. If that narrative is allowed to take hold, dominate, drive, and characterize the Ranch Rebellion involving Cliven Bundy and his supporters, when the BLM comes back with its show of force, which people like Ron Paul are now predicting, this is going to be the rallying point for the Ranch Rebellion. This is why they're trying to hide the connection, because it's such a volatile and emblematic rallying cry behind which Americans can organize. So that's why we've got to push this Harry Reid narrative and his connection to the Cliven Bundy siege to the nth degree and really let this narrative dominate the Cliven Bundy story. This is Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.
From the Daily Mail, does Russia spy on its citizens? Edward Snowden puts surprise question to Putin in televised Q&A as leader denies mass surveillance and clear dig at the West. Now, for those of you that don't know, just to catch you up, yes, this is the NSA whistleblower Ed Snowden, still in some form of asylum in Russia. And this is supposedly a dig at the United States, right? But if, and the whole setup, again, really, Russia, if you understand that its economy is only about 1/40th, that's 40th, 40th the size of the United States. And you understand that government is a global racket, that it's got the same power brokers behind most governments in the world. You know, yeah, there are competitions within the superclass. It'd be much more accurate to describe Russia as a part of the American empire than as this like competing superpower. And yet they're the ones giving Snowden asylum and taking this big dig at the West. But if you listen to the exactly what Putin said, you realize how ridiculous this whole thing is, obviously. And this was his annual televised Q&A. And you know that this was staged, right? I mean, Putin is a master propagandist. I know, I worked for him, very indirectly. But this is, maybe not so indirectly. I'll let you look that one up. But this is, clearly staged. And he... What did Putin say? This is like, so, as he said, Mr. Snowden, you are a former agent, a spy. I used to be working for an intelligence service. Obviously, Putin, former KGB, largely attributed with his rise to power. We are going to talk one professional language. Now, what is that language? Is it propaganda? Is it statism? We're talking spy versus spy here? Yeah. So we don't want anybody else to understand what we're saying. I'm going to talk to you and to other members of the spy community, and everybody else in the world isn't going to get what we're saying at all. Our intelligence efforts are strictly regulated by our law. Special forces can use this kind of equipment as they intercept phone calls or follow someone online, but you have to get permission to stalk a particular person. We don't have a mass system of such interception, and according to our law, it cannot exist. Of course, we know that criminals and terrorists use technology for their criminal acts, and of course, special services have to use technical means to respond to their crimes, including those of a terrorist nature. But we do not have a mass-scale, uncontrollable effort like that. I hope we don't do that, and we don't have as much money as they have in the United States, and we don't have these technical devices that they have in the United States. Our special services, thank God, are strictly controlled by society and the law and are regulated by the law. Did you hear that? Sounds exactly, minus the Russia versus U.S. parts, exactly what the Obama administration has said about the NSA so far. Yeah. Sorry, had to translate for all of those of you who don't speak spy versus spy.
Our orders were to come down here and help out with security.
Well, I know that Iraqis stand in line to come to this country.
I love our troops.
You come forward, American Constitution. 1913, corrupt in the system. Devalue dollar, hyperinflation. The Federal Reserve, controlled by Lucifer. He can see you lying in your eyes. Bye. You know can hide from Judge Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. No